So sometimes in an animation project, we might have shots where there's really not that much happening. It could be because the animation, like, there's just not much action that's called for, or it's a shot where the character needs to just be thinking or settling, or it's just not a high budget shot and we have only so much time. So in this particular shot, I don't really anticipate having Larkspur move around very much. She can mostly stay where she's at, but we do want to try to make the best of what we have. So I'm going to show you a little trick that's really nice, a really nice way of getting the characters to feel like they're thinking, even if they're not moving very much. And you can use this even if they are moving a lot, but we just got to be a little careful, because if we use it too much while the character's moving around a lot, it may look like they're out of like they're out of focus, like they can't see well, because it's about the eyes. So what I'm going to do is, her head is going to be on its own layer. I don't think her head's going to move much, but just in case, I do want to at least have the option to do that. So that's one thing that's really nice about Harmony, is that it gives us the ability to break characters down into parts and do frame by frame with simple puppeting, should the shots call for it. Now, I don't really anticipate she's going to have much, if any, action with the bangs, but just in case, I'll give her a hairline rather than putting her bangs on the same layer as her head, because if they're on the same layer, then she won't be able to move them at all. Although I don't think she's going to need to. There we go. Okay. So that's her head. And then we have her eyes. So her eyes could be on separate layers and divided by her nose, or they can be on the same layer. I don't really anticipate that she's going to be turning her head, so she'd probably be okay with just having the eyes on the same layer. Generally, if in a puppet, it would be better to keep them separated. Okay, so for the eyes, if it ends up that her eyes would be better off on separate layers, I could always move them. There we go. And pupils. Now pupils actually might, pupils are something that also can look better when they're on their own layers. I might, but we'll see, because again, I don't picture her moving very much here. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to have her just go sweat a little bit. Let's turn on. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay. And then let's do hair tie, hair back, bang F for the front bang, bang B for the back bang, and torso. And right now, probably maybe keep her neck with the torso. Well, yeah, I don't think her neck needs to be separated, but just in case, neck. Okay. Okay, and in the head, there we go. And hair back. There we go. It looks wonky, but you're not going to see the back of her hair where it overlaps her ear and her head. So I'm just letting it be wonky. I just want to make sure there's no gaps between where one part ends and another part begins. Then we get a hole and it doesn't look great. Okay, so she has the hair tie, her front bang. So because her bangs aren't moving very much, I'm going with a little more detailed style of her bangs. Okay, there we go. And that back bang is going to need to be behind the head. Torso. And neck. There you go. And I'm just tracing directly on the animatic because she's just going to be puppeted. So I'm going to color her. So I'm going to import her color palette. So I have a master palette for all the major characters, at least as of right now. Master palette, Larkspur. Okay. And one thing that I do need to do is connect all the parts that don't have that have large gaps. So like the neck here. So even though it looks like there's a connection between the neck and the body, it's not actually there because it's not, the torso is on a different layer. And torso does connect except for right here. That's a really common issue to have happen. Okay, bang. Let's go grab this stroke. Okay, and here. Connect this and the sweat. Actually, her sweat's just her skin color. It's not. It doesn't have its own color, so that won't be a problem. Mouth doesn't. Let's do a close gap just to make sure that it'll fill. Same thing with her brows. Just want to make sure they fill. I don't need to do it to the creases of her face because it doesn't have to have a color. It's going to be her skin color. Her eyes. Okay, so the areas where the lines are close to connecting, I'm just going to make sure that they are connected. and then I'm gonna turn on strokes and connect these. Yep. And then her head. Okay. So I'm going to connect that because that's going to be her hair. And I'm going to connect this. Are there any other places that need to be? Yes, this part. Okay, now for the areas that are kind of overlapping or look like they're overlapping but they're not, I'm just using the close gap for that. Okay. And then we've got the bang back and the bang back. Yeah, it looks like it's already connected. And then the hair back. Now, my recommendation is whenever you're starting and stopping a drawing, you're likely to have an issue right where the connecting point is. So when I'm drawing, I tend to try to, if possible, have the starting connections be, the starting place, be somewhere that's less likely to be seen. Or if it can't be helped, and we're just going to see all of it, then whenever I'm done with a connection, even if it looks like it's connected and it's not quite, you get these overlaps. So sometimes I'll just leave it, but a lot of times we don't want to just leave it, so I'll just take the contour editor, grab the magnet, and pop it into place. And then basically just fix it as best I can. To try to get the line work to work well. Sometimes it'll take a few tries. So it's recommended to try not to pick up and put down your pen too often when you're doing inks. In Sketch, I do that all the time. Okay, so I'm going to go to Paint Unpainted, and Paint Unpainted just lets me fill in only places that have not yet been filled in by something else. So that helps to ensure that I don't accidentally fill in the, oops, I forgot an area here, that I don't accidentally fill in, let's say, the ink lines. Yeah, let's do that. And Paint Unpainted, boom. And where's the hair tie? Eyes, okay. Eye whites. Pupils. And then let's switch to the brush. And I usually just draw in the pupils myself. Sometimes on the same layer, sometimes on a different layer. Because she's not moving that much. I'm trying not to have too many layers in this shot if I can help it, if it's not necessary. Sweat doesn't have a color, hair tie. There it is. There we go. Bangs. Torso. Skin. Did I miss her head? I must have missed her head. There's her head. Oh, I did do her head, but I only did the hair. Okay. All right, and she should have eye whites as well. Or eye shine, sorry, eye shine. But I want that to be above the pupils. Okay, so let's see what she looks like without the light table on. We can see what all her parts look like together. Oh, well, I mean, good, but her neck is doing a thing. And that's just because her neck and torso are too high. Let's bring it below her head, but in front of her, the back of her hair. There we go. Also, now that I'm looking at it in color, her closer eye might be too far away from her nose. So what do I do for that? So eye, brow, okay, eyebrow, eye so there we go. Select all these. Select this. And I'm just going to move it over. Oh. Okay, so it's not selecting the whites of her eyes. I probably accidentally deselected it. There we go. Okay. And then in her nose. Let's move the nostril. And I'm going to redo that line. There we go. And now her pupils aren't quite looking in the same place. So looks like she's got a little lazy eye. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to puppet her. And I'm going to go in here, and this is the node view. Now the node view just pops up for me because I always have it docked here. I use the node view quite a bit in these projects. So I have it docked here. I have everything selected, and I'm going to go up here to the icons. If these icons are not showing up for you, you can right mouse click in the little gray area above it and click on the word node view. Mine is checked because mine is already up. And I usually pick the one that looks like 3 TVs stacked in a pyramid with an arrow pointing down. And I just hit OK. And there we go. We have everything pseudo organized. Okay, so I'm just going to move the camera here. There's the camera pegs. Move this up. There's not really any camera movement in this, but it just has a camera peg because I brought in the animatic from Storyboard Pro. Okay, so if I disable it, will it do anything? Yeah, it doesn't do anything because the camera peg's not actually doing anything, so let's get rid of it. Yeah, there's no camera movement in this, so I'm gonna drop it. And the brows are leading the eye shine, and that's not necessary. It's probably just because I probably had the brows selected, or the way I moved the layer order probably caused that. Okay, so I'm just going to take all of these, and I'm going to line them up. There we go. I'll put the animatic down. Okay, so now I want the head to have to be a leader. So Command P, and I want the bangs. And the hair back to have a peg. I'm doing this by selecting them and hitting Command P on the keyboard, but I'm doing it one at a time. The eyes don't need to move independently, so they're just going to follow the head. And the pupils have their own leader, and they can follow the head. The brows might need their own peg. Again, I may not use it, but at least I have the option. They'll follow the head. Mouth doesn't need to move around, so head can just pop right into it. Eye shine, same thing, can just follow the head. Sweat, it's just going to follow the head. It already has its own animation. The hair tie is just going to follow the head. And the bangs, I do want them to be able to move independently and follow the head. Same thing here, head's going to lead the head bangs. Neck, so let's have the neck lead the head. I don't even know if I'm going to even use the neck, but at least I have the option. Same thing with torso. I'm going to have the torso be the leader. And the hair back is going to follow the head. Okay, so torso's the leader. Neck is the next one. Just because if she's leans forward or back, I don't want her head to get left behind. That would be awkward. Okay, let's move this here. Now there's a little crossover with the wire, so I'm just going to move that there by using a waypoint. Same thing here. It just makes it easier visually to see, okay, this is the leader, this is the boss, and then the neck is the next leader, like second in command, and then the head, and then kind of everything else. Okay, and let's take these and let's line them up. There we go. Now I need to establish where their orientation is, because like her torso wouldn't rotate from her head. I would probably put it by where her hips would be. There we go. It says I'm probably not even going to use that, but just in case. And then the neck. Okay. And then her head, usually we hinge it around the jaw. I do got to be a little careful, because if she bends her head too much, well, it actually looks okay. But if she bends it the other way, but she's going to be looking straight ahead, so that's not really an issue. And if that was an issue, I could amend the drawing so that that doesn't cause a problem. Okay. So we have the head hinged there, and then we have the bang. So I'm not really even sure her bangs are going to move, but at least here. I feel like her bangs are too... let me just see if it looks okay if I widen it. Because her bangs usually are coming out from around the center. And so I just don't want it to be too far from it where it doesn't look right. Okay. Okay. And that could have changed where it hinges. Yeah. This is probably a good place for it. There we go. Brows. Well, it's both brows at the same time, so I'll put them in the middle. That allows me to do, I wouldn't be doing rotations with that, but if I wanted to do like the Dr. Wiley eyebrow move, I could do that. And pupils. Bangs. Okay, there we go. And then the hair back. There we go. Okay, so now she's done, and I have the chance to, now I can animate her, and she'll already be ink and painted. That's one thing that can be an advantage to doing puppeting rather than frame-by-frame animation. So, let's see. So she's basically, in this shot, she's looking between two different options and trying to decide between them, and she's a little stressed out about it. So I definitely want to show that she's thinking, and an easy way to do that is what's called saccade. It's a little bit of movement in the eyes, in the pupils. So in real life, oh, actually I only last one frame, let's fix that. So in real life, humans, we have a very narrow area of focus, but a wider peripheral vision. So a lot of things that we do when we're looking at somebody while they're talking, or if we're looking at something else, is that we focus in one spot and then shift a little to another, shift a little to another. So we're looking at somebody's eye, like one of their eyes, one of their pupils, then the other, then their forehead, then their nose, then their other eye again. Like there's little subtle shifts in the eye. And if you include that in animation, that can help to make the character feel more alive. Now, so what I'm going to do is she's going to start off here, FN, F6 for a keyframe. And then I'm going to just subtly shift her focus. Subtly shift her focus. Slowly. Now, the more you do it, the more alarmed or unhinged they might seem. Now, she is pretty stressed out, so I'm not too concerned about, well, I don't want to go too much, but that can help. Now, if I play it, it's a little drifty. So often what I'll do instead is I'll turn off the motion keyframes and just set them to stop motion so that they jump. There we go. Okay, so that kind of works. Okay, so at this point, we could either stop where it's at, or we could continue and try to do a little bit more with the body. So for the rest of this animation, I kind of played around with the body parts to see if she could have a little bit of progression or a little bit of movement in the body. But I wasn't entirely sure exactly what I wanted it to do, so this part's being fast forwarded as I kind of experimented with maybe having her lean forward a little bit or have her do a little bit of a take. Although I didn't want to push her animation too much because she's literally just standing there looking at her options. So ultimately I may just end up with what I had originally, just her eyes shifting a little bit and the beads of sweat and really nothing else happening. But wanted to kind of experiment and see what some of the other options could be. Again, this is a shot that I don't want to spend an awful lot of time on because that was the whole purpose of setting it up this way. But it is nice to have that option and have that division with simple puppetry, and that way you can take a shot that really doesn't have much happening and give it a little bit more, so it's not quite so stiff and so still. And it's best if you have it planned out a little, and I had in my mind some ideas of what she could do, but again, ultimately she's just standing there looking at her options. Now, if I did end up keeping the blank, I would have to account for that in her eyes, and I would need to account for that in her eye shine. So I kind of played around with it, kind of see if it works, and if it doesn't, you could take it out. But this demonstration is a little bit more about the setup and just seeing what options you can use in Toon Boom Harmony to give a little bit more liveliness to a shot that is predominantly still. So I hope you found this demonstration to be helpful. Please feel free to like or leave a comment. If you have any questions or requests for any future demos, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.